be very clear about one thing. The reason why torture exists, the reason why down through the years and down through history, governments have used torture is very simple and very straightforward. Torture helps you to build a case to do what you want to do. It does not help in finding the truth. I know a lot of you have watched a lot of cop shows, the old 24 show with the ticking time bomb, and was it Kevin Spacey or something? What was this? Kiefer Sutherland. That's right. Donald Sutherland's son. It's a lie. It's not how it works. You know, I've seen enough cop shows, where the cop sticks a knife in the bad guy's leg or punches him hard enough, and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll tell you, it's over on the fourth. Occasionally, but not for anything high stakes. And real torture, the kind of torture that we were doing, the kind of torture that lasts day after day after day, week after week after week, month after month, and in the case of the people in Guantanamo now, year after year after year, real torture provides the answers that the torturer wants. Not necessarily the truthful answers, but the answers the torturer wants. If you look at the case of the two highest profile, highest al-Qaeda members who were directly involved with 9/11, al-Libi and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. These were the two guys who had the most information. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed actually planned 9/11. Al-Libi was involved in moving money around here and there and other things like this. If you look at the history of this, and this is, when people call me up and they say, torture works and just go ahead and do it in my name, I would say you have not read this Senate torture report. You've never actually talked to anybody who interrogates people for a living. Because if you ever talked to somebody who interrogates people for a living, you find out that the technique that you use, the most effective technique that you use to get information out of people, is building a relationship with them, finding out their core values and finding areas of commonality in core values. It doesn't take an enormous amount of time. So anyhow, with al-Libi and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, what happened? We arrested them. We turned them over to the FBI. The FBI are professional interrogators. The CIA are not. As John Brennan pointed out last week, when the CIA was given this job 6 days after 9/11, they had never before run an interrogation center. They did not have trained interrogators. They had never, run torture centers. They had never run interrogation centers. They didn't have any. They had to build them in countries outside the United States because they knew what they were doing was illegal, and they didn't want it to be inside the United States. They wanted to minimize the probability that they themselves would be prosecuted. So they did it in Poland and places like that. So anyhow, with al-Libi and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the FBI interrogated them using just standard technique. Good cop, bad cop, yell at you, talk with you, bring you a sandwich, get to know you, talk about your family, talk about your values, building this rapport. And in just a few days, we got virtually all of the details on bin Laden and on the 9/11 and everything from Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. He gave it all to us. And al-Libi, the same deal. He gave it all to us. You go back and listen to John Brennan's speech last week, which the media says was defending torture. It was not defending torture. He said, I can't tell you that the order, he said, people on whom enhanced interrogation techniques were used did provide us with information. Well, that's true. But they provided us with information before the enhanced interrogation techniques, a.k.a. torture, were used. So what happened? I had a conversation with Ray McGovern on Friday night about this, and I think you might find it very interesting. It should be up over it'll be on our website soon. Ray McGovern, a 30-year CIA veteran. He used to prepare the presidential daily briefings for the president. He'd been involved. He was a military officer. In intelligence. I mean, this guy, his whole life was in the intelligence service. And he pointed out that when they arrested al-Libi and when they arrested Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, they got good information from them, and they began acting on that, and that arguably led directly to the capture of Osama bin Laden. But In the midst of this, George Bush was trying to convince us all we needed to go to war in Iraq. And the American people were opposed to it, overwhelmingly. And so George Bush ordered al-Libi to be sent to Egypt to be tortured. Because he wouldn't say, yeah, Saddam Hussein had anything to do with this. Because he didn't. Saddam Hussein was a Ba'athist. He was a secular Sunni Arab. And Osama bin Laden hated him. Osama bin Laden, after he got kicked out of Afghanistan, went back to Saudi Arabia, put together an army, and tried to invade Iraq to take down Saddam Hussein. These guys were mortal enemies. There's no way Saddam Hussein would allow even one al-Qaeda guy in Iraq. But Bush needed somebody to say that Saddam Hussein and al-Qaeda were working hand in hand, and therefore you could tie Saddam Hussein to 9/11. He had nothing to do with 9/11. He had nothing to do with al-Qaeda. There had never been a suicide bombing in Iraq in its 7,000-year history. So they take al-Libi over to Egypt and they torture him, and in order to get them to stop, and some of these torture techniques involve threatening to or raping your children in front of you, crushing one kid's testicles, 7-year-old boy's testicles in front of his father. I mean, this is bizarre stuff. And al-Libi was like, okay, I give. Yeah, Saddam Hussein was involved. And George Bush took that information and reported it to us, reported it to the United Nations, and used that confession obtained under torture, which was a lie, to justify the war in Iraq. That's when torture works. When you know what you want someone to say. There's a reason why they tortured witches in Massachusetts in the late 1600s in the United States, women, to get them to confess to being witches. The reason why they tortured people in ancient Europe, either to get the information that King Henry wanted or to scare the hell out of his political opponents. It's never to get the truth.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program.